Hey, how you guys doing? So I have been sick all week. I've had strep for the last frickin' almost week now, and haven't had a chance to get out and do much. But I had an idea because I had when I went out and did that kit ruck with my buddy up in the Sacramento's in the snow. I had a couple people ask me about my Alice pack and what I think about medium-sized Alice pack and whatnot. So I just was kind of wanted to do a little overview of what I carry in my Alice pack when I have this set up, because this is more for sustainment compared to like the day pack that I use, the LLB and day pack that I use. And so I just wanted to go over kind of like what I had on it and whatnot. What I had on it and what I have in it. So and kind of also the things that I use supplementary, I guess. So the first thing on the outside that you see on the outside, right? I have my sleeping bag. It's not my full sleeping system, but this is a Repro Rhodesian sleeping bag from What Price Glory, and that's just I've used it quite a few times out here, and it's been, weather rating wise, I would say it's freezing. Like, it's a 3-season bag, but it's not the full system, right? So one of the nomenclature to this is the setup you see right now. The setup I'm going to show you is more of it's for cold weather. There's snow, but it's not like actively snowing. Like it's not for an Arctic environment. All right, so that's the nomenclature on that, right? So, sleeping bag on the outside. That's one of the things I love about the Alice pack is you can attach a multitude of things to the outside, i.e., hydration. I have one canteen on this side and one canteen on this side. Both are U.S. Canteens. They have the U.S. Canteen pouch. They have the small little pocket on the outside, which I keep on both of them. A pack of MRE matches and a thing of water purification tablets. I don't, for weight-wise, I don't have canteen cup with these canteens because this is going to be seconded with my RRV, which has a lightweight West German aluminum canteen cup. So I really don't need more than one canteen cup. So those on either side. And then it's my cold steel Bowie machete instead of a hatchet or an axe. Now, people ask me how long the stuff in this, what's the length for the sustainment in this. And I'm sorry, I looked these up. I was fiddling with them last night. What's the length of sustainment? And, what I have in here right now with the 2 canteens and whatnot and all of this, I would say this would be a good, well, you'll see the food, right? But this would be a good 4 to 5 days in a winter snowy environment where you can melt snow. You have a way to refill your canteens, right? That's one of the nomenclatures, I guess. But the only other thing that you could do to add to this water-wise would be to add another canteen on the outside webbing here, right? And or like I keep saying sustainment, but for sustainment, adding an E-tool onto the outside of the Alice pack, attaching it to the webbing as an extra, for not even digging in, but for camping and not camping, bivouacking and whatnot, right? So that's just on the outside. Sleeping bag, canteens, hydration, camp tool. Now, the 3 outer pouches, I have it set up with food, field gear, field crafty gear, ammunition, and then camp items, which you'll see. So we'll start with the camp items. The camp items are This little hot beverage bag, I've talked about this before. This is something I have in I carry in my pack, whether it's my day pack or whatnot. This has Neosporin, Band-Aids, a glow stick, hand sanitizer, a small fixed blade knife, one of those, a striker, like what I used in that fire video, and cotton balls. This is just something like to grab out, clean my hands, clean a cut. This is kind of like a grab and go type bag that I put together, that I put in any one of my packs, right? So I have that. I have my toiletry bag, which I made a post on Instagram, goes over what I have in there. But that's right there, easy to grab. Those two right there, right on the outside pouch, easy to grab. Then also in that pouch, I have my little laser bright with the IR set up on the end and the green set up in the middle. So I have that in there. Then I also have one of my little battery tubes, batteries for my GPS. But the GPS and laser rangefinder that I got from Brownells, I got the batteries from them too. I bought them all at the same time. And this is sealed, so if I open this, but right underneath the cap is a battery for the laser bright as well. So I have spare batteries there. Little thing of mini chem lights for you know, just around camp, map reading, blah blah blah. And then in the very bottom is one of these. I picked this up the minute Tactical Tailor dropped them. Tactical Tailor field repair kit with all the accoutrements to fix modern gear, right? So that's all in this outer pouch, the far right or left, depending on if you're wearing it or looking at it, right? In the middle, my laser rangefinder, the GorTex I got from Brownells, my Suunto orienteering compass. I have my Suunto wrist compass in my IFAC on my RRV, but I have this as a secondary in the pack. I would use this more for map reading than the wrist compass. So I have that. 90 rounds of loose 5.56, so that's my spare ammo. I'm not going to carry in extra mags because my RRV already has 8 AR mags. 90 rounds of spare 5.56. My 50-something foot length of paracord for shelter building and whatnot that I try not to cut off of. So there's that in there. This is in another little section of paracord. This is how far long is this? This is like 12 feet or something like that, just to hang up something between two trees. But it's also OD green, so I have two different colored paracords as well. And then just another fire starter, some matches, and a very small, minimalist little neck knife for things around camp, especially if you're actually gonna be sustaining and setting up traps or something. That's, you know, good for skinning little game. So that's all in the middle pouch. Ammunition, rangefinder, and, you know, not miscellaneous, just small camp things. And then on this other outer pouch is the food. So I have one. Let's see if I can fold this, hold this back. There we go. So we've got one. Pull all this shit out. 2. So I have 3 freeze-dried meal cold weather mains that I've explained in the video before. But back in the 70s, these old freeze-dried rations that they had, they would put them in a cardboard sleeve to prevent pinholing, which is like when something would poke it and the freeze-dried the vacuum pack the seal would break, and then you would be stuck with something that has air in it, and it would potentially make the ration go bad. So I've done that to these myself, so that to help potentially prevent pinholing, right? So I have 3 of these. I have 2 First Strike bars. I have this one accessory packet that has coffee in it and cheese spread, turkey nuggets, trail mix. So all of this right here, you have to think, the guys back in the day, when they first came out with those freeze-dried rations and whatnot, they would bring one a day. And that's, we're talking about going out and doing something and just having enough food and calories to be able to do it. We're not going out there to freaking be all fat and sassy. We're going out there to freaking eat just enough to sustain our bodies to be able to complete the mission, whatever we're doing, and return back, and then, you know, be able to eat X amount of calories. So I split these. These are 3 days right there. You've got first strike for each, for 2 days, crackers for another day, and then a couple snacks. So it's 3 days worth of food right there, because each one of these is 500 plus calories. Easy. Almost 600 calories for each one of these, right? So right there on the outside pouch, that's 3 days worth of food right there. And then if you open up the very top, and I do this so that it's easy to get to, easier than this, right? I do this so it's easy to get to. I have one unpulled apart MRE on the very top of the pack, right? And that's right on the top. And there's your first, you don't even touch this yet. There's your first day of food right there. Just make that last an entire day, which you can, right? So that's on top. So there's 4 days of food right there. Okay. Then in the top of the pouch, in the top of my pack, first thing that you can grab, poncho, to either put on or to start building a shelter right away, right? So you got my poncho, my reflective, two-sided reflective OD green ground blanket for shelter building as well. Also for emergency, right on the top, emergency situation, you're in a cold weather environment, somebody starts going hypothermic, you want to freaking be able to, you want to be able to keep them from dying. So this is as an emergency, right there on the top with the poncho shelters right there. Mainly because it's cold weather environment we're talking about, right? I have my NVGs. I have my full med kit, which I'll do a video over soon. I've taken out a lot of the hot weather stuff that I have in there and put in like hot hands and stuff like that. Supplemented that, changing out the seasons, right? So the med kit right there. Then the next thing, so you think about it, first thing pull out is the freaking full MRE off the top. First day's worth of food right there. You have the pouch so you can put the stuff, the uneaten stuff back in it, put it back on the top, right? You don't have to open this up. You don't have to fuck with this at all. Then you have your emergency shelter and layering. Now remember, we're in a, like I said, cold weather environment, but it's not like an active Arctic environment where it's like you need all layers and layers. Like where I was last week, where there's 4 or 6 inches of snow on the ground. It's about 35, 40 degrees during the day. And then it, gets into the teens and 20s at night. So that's kind of the nomenclature for that, So you have this on the top. Then the next thing you can grab is your emergency shelter and whatnot. And the next 2 things you can grab are NVGs and med kit. Right there. Easily accessible. Right on the top of the pack. So I have both those there. Next thing I got is GorTex bottoms. So you'll see how I couple these together. But GorTex bottoms, which you obviously can put over your camis that you're wearing normally. The way I have it set up is GorTex bottoms. I'll come back to this. GorTex bottoms and a Army Overfleece, right? And how I have it set up is that you get to your bivouac area. You've been sweating, blah, blah, blah. You have all your gear. You're unpacking your gear. I personally would take off my camis that I was wearing to put it by the fire, warm up, dry out. I have long johns. So the last thing in here is the other part of my sleep system is a bivvy bag, right? To go over my sleeping bag. And in here I have what I showed on my hygiene post on Instagram. I have my spare socks, spare underwear, spare t-shirt, and I also have a pair of thermal bottoms. So what I would do is when I got into camp and we're making up camp, and now it's, you know, bivouacked, and we're setting up our area, I would take this out. I'd get the long johns out. I'd get my camis off. I'd get them by the fire to warm them up and dry them out. I put the long john bottoms on. I put the GorTex bottoms on. And then I'd put my fleece on top of like the t-shirt that I was wearing. Because I'm not really moving around a lot. So I'm going to be chillier. But in camp, you're going to potentially be kneeling and moving things around and doing stuff like that in camp, putting down guy lines, and you don't want your pants to get. If you're walking around a snowy area, the more you walk around, the more it turns to slush and mud. So this is more just to keep you dry in camp. Granted, if it starts snowing heavily, like when you're moving around, you can pull these out, put these on, put the fleece on. The great thing about a poncho is you can put the poncho on underneath like your web gear, and you can literally take a piece of paracord and tie around the bottom of it, put it on underneath your web gear, and it's just a raincoat. It turns into a raincoat. And going back to this, because of where we were up in the mountains and the way that the snow is, the reason I would bring this is because you can melt snow in a canteen cup right next to the fire, and as it melts, you can literally just plop this in and pump it straight into the canteen. You don't even have to boil it. You just have to be melting it constantly. So that's why I would bring it. Now, I wouldn't bring this anywhere else around here in the Southwest other than the mountains where we were, up in the Sacramentos with the snow, because there's no point. You might as well just, if you find water, filter it through a freaking scarf into your canteen and do a double batch of water purification tablets. So yeah, so there you go. There's everything inside my Alice pack. Now, what are the few things, like I said, at the beginning of the video, what are the few things to supplement this? So like I showed, roughly 4 days worth of food with my RRV and these 2 canteens. That's 3 quarts of water. With snow being around, it's relatively easy to collect snow up and melt it in a canteen next to your body if you were drinking a lot of water, which in a cold weather environment you do. So what's the things to supplement? You can add an extra canteen. So with an extra canteen, it's 4 quarts. It's a full gallon you're carrying. That's a pretty decent amount of water in a cold weather environment, right? What the other thing I suggested was adding this an e-tool instead of just the little machete. The reason I bring the machete and not the axe is because the machete has more. It's a bigger blade, longer blade, and it has more uses, right? But you can attach this on the outside. One of the reasons I don't have it on there right now, I don't have both of these on there just in general, is the fucking weight. It is very, very heavy, right? A gallon of water is 9-something pounds. This is almost 2 pounds probably. So it's not needed, but it's there to extend your capabilities, right? The other thing too would be to potentially add on the top next to, the other thing you could do is take those 2 MREs apart, take the MRE that I had up here, add another one, take them apart, and then you just have their components, the components that you'd be using more, like the entree and the snacks, not necessarily the drinks and whatnot, and put those on the top of the pack in one bag. So 2 MREs consolidated into one bag, and that adds an extra day worth of food. So you go from 4 days to 5 days worth of food. Bring something like the rec pack, which is a new thing. It's a full meal. It's kind of like the freeze-dried, imagine the freeze-dried meals in a powdered form. So the only issue is you would have to add, So the thing is with the rec pack is in a winter environment, is it 16 ounces of water? 16 ounces of water, right? So it's not a lot. It's not a terrible amount of water. It's half a canteen. But the thing is, if you were bringing multiple ones of these, you want to make sure that you have solid food as well, because if it they come up like kind of like pudding, right? It's liquidy, kind of like pudding. It's got everything you need in it calorically. It's just you don't want to end up with it being the only thing on your stomach, and then like in a winter environment having to use the bathroom a lot, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's 700 calories. I wouldn't say this is a full day, but if you had 2 MREs, right? If you had 2 pulled together MREs and this, and put that on the top right there, and then that in the pouch, you could make it a week. And we're not talking about supplementing with like game or anything. You're actually, if you were actively like looking for small game, but you could make it a week with that, just that food. Now you could obviously add a bigger pouch on the top with more food. Like with this clothes, you could add like a butt pack or something on the top, and you could have more food. You could put food components in the sleeping bag rolled up. You could do a multitude of things. That's why I love the Alice pack, is it's modular. It is modular. The only other thing I would add to all of that is that you can use it in a multitude of environments just by adding the pack. You buy a pack cover. So I got 6-color desert, woodland, 3-color, no, not 3-color, MAB1 woodland, and Snow White. And that, it goes from just plain green to winter, mountainous and wooded environment, and then desert. So there you go. So that's my little overview of what I have in my Alice pack. Thank you guys for watching. I know it was a little bit of a longer video, but I just wanted to answer any questions that anybody had. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.